Hey guys, welcome to one of the last chapters we're going to be doing in the critical thinking book. We just have one more next week on chapter 7 because the week after that is your exam week. Okay, so we won't be doing one there. We'll just have a different project for your end of the year project for ethics, professional ethics, or the name of the other class, Orientación Vocacional. Okay, this lesson is called troubleshooting. So lesson 6, troubleshooting. Interesting lesson because it's true what it says. Troubleshooting is where you go to find where the problem went wrong. Like, let's say that you have something wrong with your computer and you don't know what it is. It's just there's, like, let's say it's not connecting to the internet, or it's not performing a function that you asked it to perform. So when you go to look for help on the computer will ask you, do you want to troubleshoot? That means that what it'll do is it will go and say, well, maybe it's this problem. Let's go check it out. No, maybe it's this problem. Let's go check it out. Maybe it's this problem. Let's go check it out. And the computer will go to all different places troubleshooting, trying to get to the problem, trying to find what the problem is. Sometimes it finds it, sometimes it doesn't. And then it will say, like when it finds a problem, it will correct the problem, and then your computer should be fine. Okay, that's troubleshooting. The same thing happens with our goals. Maybe you guys, before we started talking about this, were people that were fine with making goals. You love making lists. You love trying to accomplish things. But when a problem happens or an obstacle happens or something goes wrong that wasn't expected, all of a sudden your plans are like shot. You don't know what to do now, right? Maybe that's the weakness, right? And for a lot of people, it is. For a lot of us, that's what we have to learn next, okay? We are convinced it's true. I need goals. We're convinced we need to make lists. We need to organize ourselves. But what happens if there's an obstacle? What happens if I wake up with ganas to get all this stuff done, then all of a sudden something else happens, there's an emergency that happens, something out of the blue happens, and now we don't know what to do. Now we don't know how to get back on track, right? That is where troubleshooting comes in. So look what it says. What we anticipate seldom occurs, so like hardly ever happens. What we least expected generally happens, okay? It's a very sad way of looking at it, but it's true, right? So look at the lesson summary. Sometimes things can go wrong as you follow your plan for reaching a goal or solving a problem. Small or even large stumbling blocks may appear and try to stall your forward progress. This lesson is about anticipating and dealing with any pesky obstacles that get in your way, okay? It's very wise if you start to anticipate that you might have problems, okay? For example, if you say, oh, let's take the himno, for example. I know that you guys are studying this week for the himno. Good thing, right? What happens if you say, okay, I'm going to study this today, this tomorrow, this tomorrow, this tomorrow, and you have all new information up to the day of the himno. Is that wise? No. 2 days before the himno, what should you be doing? Only reviewing. Only reviewing. You should not have it in your schedule that, okay, and now I'm going to learn Explicación 3 on the last day before the himno exam, knowing that what happens if you get sick that day? What happens if all of a sudden you have a horrible headache that day? What happens all of a sudden if you just can't get your homework done that day? What happens all of a sudden if your mom says that you have to go somewhere that day? And you were like, I'm going to dedicate the whole day before the himno to this thing. I won't mention it again because I think it's a sensitive subject. And then it doesn't happen. Then you don't get that day, right? Or I'll tell you what happened to me one time, and God help me because I did not have a plan. Just like you guys, we have exam week in the university, right? And exam week is brutal, okay? So you know, like what tests you have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, right? You know that you have 2 tests this day, 3 tests this day, etc., etc. The easiest class was Bible. It was a fun class. It was about the teachings of the life of Christ, I think it was, or the teachings of Jesus. It was the teachings of Jesus. The class felt like it was church every time you went into it, so you're like super focused in. But you still needed to study for the exam, okay? There's still facts that you needed to know. So here I am, like, at lunch thinking that my exam was at 3 o'clock, I think it was. And I had not studied. I had so many hard exams that year because honestly, I was an Aplicada student, and I never waited to the last minute to do anything. Okay, honestly. Okay, which that was my type of Aplicada. Some of you guys are like, I wait till the last minute, but I'm still Aplicada, Michelle Scachich. No, I'm not judging. I'm just saying, the way that I was Aplicada is that I would make sure that I was ready for my exams way before the day of the exam, okay? When everybody went into the class panicking, like, let me study this for the last minute, I just sat there. I didn't panic. I put away my notes as I walked into the classroom because I didn't want to freak myself out, okay? But not this time. So I was at lunch at like 11 or 12, and I was saying to my friends, I'm like, okay, I'm going to finish lunch. I have 2 hours to study for this test. I have not studied at all, but I don't think it's going to be hard to memorize this information. I'm going to dedicate these 2 hours to studying for this test. And then I looked at my exam card at the schedule, and I realized that my test was at 1, not at 3. So my test was like in 45 minutes from when I was eating lunch, I believe. I had to go to my room really quick, get my stuff for that class, and get over to the building that the class was in. And I was like, that's horrible. I'm going to have like 20 minutes to study because I like literally left lunch. Boom, done. I'm going to have 20 minutes to study. I'm going to fail this test. I was so scared. And I got a 98 on the test. Honestly, it was God just was like, it's okay, Jessica, I'm going to help you out with this one. But I did not have a troubleshooting plan. I did not anticipate that, okay? And I should have been studying the day before, and I wasn't. So make sure you don't get yourself up to the very last minute of anything because anything could go wrong, okay? You don't get to walk into the university class and say like, oh, it's okay, my paper didn't print. You better try to print that paper the day before, okay? If your class is in the morning, you better print that paper the morning before so that you have 24 hours to figure out what's wrong if you don't get to print it, right? You always got to be thinking ahead, okay? So that is what troubleshooting is. That is what makes you wise, anticipating problems. When we're in the meetings and stuff like that for school, you become the annoying person. If you're the person that's like, well, let's anticipate this problem. Let's anticipate this problem. How are we going to solve it before it comes? Because we know it's coming, right? You have to be the annoying person sometimes, but it helps, okay? Because then you always have a plan for something. Okay, so what is troubleshooting? It involves thinking ahead. Look, I'm on page 51. Spotting problems even before they surface or preparing to take care of them if they do. You anticipate what might go wrong and keep it from happening, or if something does pop up, keep it from growing into a major problem by resolving it while it's a manageable size. By doing so, you deal with any setbacks that might block the path to your goal. You have to learn to handle everything from small annoyances to major obstructions in order to get where you want to be. Think of it like building bridges over troubled waters. So, identifying problems that interfere with goals. After you set a goal and begin to work toward it, you will inevitably be faced with a roadblock or two. You learn in lesson 1 that you can't solve problems without first recognizing and accepting them. And that holds true for troubleshooting problems that interfere with your goals. Some of these problems are foreseeable. That is, you can anticipate them before you even begin to work toward your goal. Okay? So, I believe the rest of this you guys can do on your own. Okay? Those of you that are interested in learning about it are going to pay attention and spend the next 15 minutes really learning something about troubleshooting. And those of you that just want to do it a la carrera, me speaking on this video is not going to convince you otherwise. Okay? So it's very understandable, this section. Go ahead and fill out the parts that they want you to be involved in. And go ahead and do the practice. And that's all you have to do, okay? Skill building, until next time I'll show you this. You don't have to do this, but it's something that will help you. Practice troubleshooting someone else's problems. When a friend tells you about his or her current dilemma, think about how the person might have prevented it or how he or she can solve it, okay? Be troubleshooting in everyday life. Do it with your own self as well the next time you have a problem. Practice troubleshooting a global issue. Read a few articles on an issue of international importance, such as the crisis in the Middle East or global warming. Make a troubleshooting diagram to work through possible ways to avoid or resolve the problems that may or will result from the big issue. Okay, lucky you, we're not going to do that together, but it's something that can help you. There's another thing here that says a tip. When you do have a problem, write a complete, accurate description of what caused it and note the root cause. Make a damage control plan to prevent future repetitions of that problem. Okay, the whole lesson is to be aware that problems are going to come. Catch them before they do. Anticipate them so you're prepared for them. Okay, be on your toes, be alert. And that will always, always help you. And then when a problem happens, guys, look back and say why. Why did the problem happen? So you can prevent it from happening again. Because especially in a job, okay, let's take teaching, for instance. We have year after year, school years. Things will repeat themselves. Problems will repeat themselves unless we prevent them. Like, for instance, we always change directors, which means with the changing of directors, we don't know everything the Department of Education requires every year. What happens in September, what happens, etc. So what we've decided to do, we've been working on it for a couple of years now, is every month we write down what did we do for the Department of Education, what did they ask us for, what reports did they ask us for, what events did they ask us for, etc., etc. So that no matter who is in the director's position, no matter who knows what or what, we can go into the computer, we can look at the list, and we can know what is expected of us. Yes, there's always going to be surprises, but at least we are a little bit more knowledgeable than we were before, okay? So that is troubleshooting. So get into the habit of doing that. Get in the habit of being on top of things. Brian always says to me, it's like you think of everything. You think of everything like ahead of time, what's coming, what can be prevented, etc., etc. That's how I grew up. That's how my mom taught me. And it's helpful because it makes us a good team because he's not like that. He's a live in the moment kind of person, right? So together we can accomplish a lot though because he keeps us balanced and I keep us looking forward as well. And that's what we need to do. That's what we need to train ourselves to do. Okay? Let me know if you have any questions. Enjoy learning about troubleshooting.